I'm Catherine Rowley. I'm your lay leader today, and we're also welcoming William Day, our pianist. And Lily's birthday is today, and she's on a celebration, so I'm very grateful for William, and welcome to you too, and to everybody who's here, all our regulars and visitors and everybody. I'd like to call up Alan Worley, yeah, to give our announcements. He's our board president, and he usually does this. I did. We just can't get enough of you.
Good morning and welcome home to the Monte Vista UU congregation. Announcements. Yep, they're there. The important thing is to read the Thursday community connection that gets emailed out. That has stuff with details, especially in the next couple of weeks as we move towards our congregational meeting on May 21st. That's just 2 weeks away. Oh my, there's an agenda due. So, again, Taco Tuesday is an online gathering that we have at 7 o'clock on Zoom. It's a lot of fun. It fluctuates between 4 and we've had 12, 15, and we talk. If you want to sign up for the announcements, make sure that you let the greeter know, and we'll get your name on the list so that you get them. And I think with that, we're good. Thank you.
And of course, I forgot that we also have our honored guest, Michael Eselun, with us, who we dearly love. So Michael's here too. And I would just want to highlight for some of you that are new, we have a young adults group that's meeting now once a month. If you see it up there, it's I think it's the last Sunday of the month. So that's going really well, and people may enjoy that. And then now we have a very special event. Okay. Yeah, we just ended our pledge drive, and as Al, you know, that have been involved with seeing this, there's some very important items that are going to be raffled today for the pledge, right? And Kay, as a part of the pledge committee, can you do that raffle? Come on up, Kay. Do you have the Oh, you know what? They're in an envelope. They're not in the envelope you handed me?
No. I don't know. We're supposed to do this today, but I don't know where Carissa put the names of the people who pledged. And she doesn't seem to be here today, so.
Okay. Well, let's just, okay, this is being held off for a week. So all you anxious people who are really waiting for this is really important. Do you have them? Okay. Some mysterious things. So I'll go down and get them. And then.
Okay.
So who can draw them? I can draw them. I can be the one. Can you play something silent for this event? Or something? Okay,
Okay.
just play it.
Did you
Okay.
want to do it now?
Yeah, I'm gonna do it right now. Okay, okay, we're gonna see who this
First
is.
best guy was Rocky Squirrel.
Okay, here's somebody.
The winner is
I can't open it. Eileen Garcia? Is she present? Do you have to be present to win this, or does it get sent to you?
No.
Okay, Eileen, if you're on Zoom, this is your lucky day, and you are the winner. Okay, and you could stay up here right now.
Okay. Well,
Next one.
okay, and the next one is Lucky, and somebody will be lucky enough to win him.
I don't think this person is here either, and she's going to be ecstatic. Okay.
Oh, Meg Mathis.
Meg. Meg. Is Meg here? No, maybe she's online. No, Meg's the other one. Okay, and so there we did it.
All right.
We carried this to the
Meg,
end.
and that's
And, yay. I think I should put these on our altar. There. Okay. It was a wonderful pledge drive, and a great big thank you to everybody who did it, everybody who participated, and yay, it's done. And thank you. Okay, so now we will begin our worship part of the service. We do that with the sounding of the bowl. We sound the bowl 3 times. We sound it once for those who came before. The Tongva and other native peoples who are the original stewards of this land and who called it home long ago. We also honor our ancestors and the founding members of this congregation who imagined and formed it over 75 years ago, over 75 years ago now. We sound it once for those of us here and now. For our members and friends and visitors and staff and all of our extended UU family who we hold and care for as we grow our beloved community. And we sound it once for those who will come. For all who will find belonging here at MVUUC in the days to come. And our opening words are called Behind the Thunder by Mark Nepo. I keep looking for one more teacher, only to find that fish learn from water and birds learn from the sky. If you want to learn about the sea, it helps to be at the sea. If you want to learn about compassion, it helps to be in love. If you want to learn about healing, it helps to know suffering. The strong live in the storm without worshiping the storm. And let's rise and sing, come sing a song with me. Rise in body or spirit as you're moved. It's number 346 in our hymnal. And let's sing all the verses. I guess I can go with that. Good job, actually, everybody. You sounded awesome. Okay, so now is the time to light our chalices. And I will light our chalices. Oh, I didn't. So we light 2 chalices. We light our chalice of our faith, very beautiful, traditional, gifted by our minister to us. And we light a little light for our Calapayan Partner Church, for the children. It was given to our children. And we light with these words. We come together to light the chalice of our community, both in person and virtually, as a way of reminding ourselves of our common light, the spark within, the light we carry and the light we give away. May we fan the flame of the Spirit within ourselves and within each other with encouragement, with compassion, and with a willingness to be a witness, knowing that it is enough. It is what we came for. And now our covenant. And I don't want you all standing up and down, but normally we stand for this and we stand afterwards to sing Spirit of Life. So let's say this beautiful covenant that we've been saying. So let's again rise in body or spirit and speak together. Okay. We affirm that love is the greatest purpose of this congregation. The search for truth is our constant star, and service is our prayer. We pledge our hearts, minds, and hands to the challenge injustice with courage, to find hope in times of fear, and to live out our Unitarian Universalist values every day as beloved community. Thus do we covenant with each other and with all that is sacred in life. And let us sing Spirit of Life. We sing it twice through, once in English and once in Spanish. And now is our time for all ages, and I guess we're going to give our Director of Lifespan Religious Education a little voice break, and we have a video of the story. So it's called Ish, and let's just I'm sure this will be flawless. So sweet. And what a message. So do we have kids in the sanctuary? So let's, oh yeah, there you are. Let's call our kids up to claim their chalice, and then we'll sing them out. Thank you. Now we're on for... Hearts go with you, go enjoy, our hearts go too. Learn in love and grow in wisdom. Shine your light in all you do. And now is our time when we do our Sunday morning offering. So let us open our hearts and give in generosity to this place we love so dearly. Our love and generosity supports this congregation. Thank you so much. And I just feel so blessed just to have been here in this moment, watching everybody come forth with their gifts and just feeling so happy we're all together. So now let us share our joys and concerns. And I don't know if there are any online. Are there any online, Jarius? Thank you. I don't have a little auxiliary computer to see, but someday I will. So there's two that were in our basket. The first is, my sorrow is that this will be my last Monte Vista service for a while because I'm going home next Saturday. My joy is finding this congregation and that I will return in the fall. And this Jack Widener. Aw, and thank you. We're happy you found us. And have a wonderful summer. And that concern from Ellen Livingston, please send prayers and concerns to her son, Luke Donner, who is having surgery for bone cancer tomorrow. Yeah, wow. And I have some concerns, I suppose, too. My sister has a pretty bad cancer, and she's not expected to survive with it. It's been a long road to find that out, but maybe a few years, maybe. She says she's not ready to go yet. Life's too beautiful. So that's been a sad thing for me. And actually, it looks like her friend that she's been taking care of for the last 3 years is also transitioning, like maybe, well, very soon. So of her cancer, cancer. And then there's another concern that we want to just lift up. Some of you may know, but if not, then you're first hearing of it, that our one of our, I guess, I don't know if it's a sister or brother church, but it's a sister brother church in Pasadena, All Saints, who's very welcoming congregation, has been threatened twice with some pretty serious threats for harm to come to them now during their service. So because of their welcoming position and their justice work for basically oriented towards transgender people. So we want to really hold them in our hearts. And also there's another, a Buddhist temple in Pasadena that's been similarly threatened. It's a really unusual time we live in. It's very polarized, I'd say, but this is very serious, so we hold them in our prayers. So we hold right now the concerns that have been mentioned here today, as we hold all the concerns that have not been mentioned. There's so many of them that we hold in our hearts, and we acknowledge them as we hold each other in love and the wider world. So we have a really beautiful meditation from Michael, and I will lead you in it. It's a little time for maybe a short shift from the overwhelming heaviness of our worries sometimes. So let us enter in to a silent time of reflection. So get comfortable in your seats and close your eyes and take a few nice deep breaths. Let's take them together. Just follow the empty breath. As we breathe, let go of the concerns and the thoughts of the day, of the week behind us, of the week ahead of us, the year behind us, the year ahead of us. And let us allow ourselves just to breathe into this moment, now, in stillness. We breathe into the place beneath such concerns, where we can remember that as we are all sitting together in silence, we are at the very center of our being, of the same essence. Cut from the same cloth, yearning for the same peace, the same joy, carrying the same sorrows. Let us sit together in silence. Blessed be. And now it's my pleasure to introduce Michael Eselun, who is well known to those of us who've been here for a while. He's the chaplain for the Simsman UCLA Center for Integrative Oncology. He's a 2-time TEDx speaker, and he speaks extensively to healthcare professionals, to patient populations, and to faith communities across the country. He's worked as an activist and educator, and I presume you still are, addressing anti-LGBTQ bias in the larger community. And he's done this for over 30 years. And he was inducted into the UCLA Semel Institute for Eudaimonia, the Institute Eudaimonia Society, in recognition for having lived a meaningful, driven life. And his website's really worth visiting. He has CDs available of his talks, and you can communicate with him through his website. So it's www.michaeleselun.com. Pretty easy. So let me now welcome Michael.
Thank you for the warm welcome. I'd like to share a reading with you, and it's called What You Missed That Day You Were Absent from 4th Grade, and it's written by Brad Aaron Maudlin. Mrs. Nelson explained how to stand still and listen to the wind, how to find meaning in pumping gas, how peeling potatoes can be a form of prayer. She took questions on how not to feel lost in the dark. After lunch, she distributed worksheets that covered ways to remember your grandfather's voice. Then the class discussed falling asleep without feeling like you had forgotten to do something else, something important, and how to believe the house you wake up in is your home. This prompted Mrs. Nelson to draw a chalkboard diagram detailing how to chant the Psalms during cigarette breaks, and how not to squirm for sound when your own thoughts are all you hear. Also, that you have enough. The English lesson was that I am is a complete sentence. And just before the afternoon bell, she made the math equation look easy, the one that proves that hundreds of questions and feeling cold and all those nights spent looking for whatever it was you lost and one person add up to something. I call this talk Spiritual Report Cards, and I have been running away from failure ever since I was first aware there was such a thing as a report card. I couldn't imagine anything worse than getting an F, the humiliation, the disgrace. So I made sure that I never did. I actually lived through my school years believing my grade point average and my self-worth were one and the same thing. Even though ultimately a 4.0 GPA was flimsy proof indeed of any kind of self-worth, still a string of A's did offer some momentary consolation and camouflage, if you will, for my true failure as a boy, as a straight boy doing straight boy things, not like the other boys at all. Leaves me to wonder how many of us live our lives as if there will be a report card at the end, as if we will be somehow judged ultimately on the meaning we made of our life or of our work, or how many things we acquired, how much money we made, or what kind of a parent were we? Or conversely, living with the bone-chilling fear that I must have been absent that day, unaware that this particular moral challenge would be on the final exam, and I blew it. Sharon is facing the imminent end of her life, metastatic breast cancer, and she wrestles with those very questions. Michael, I think I've lived a good life. I've been a decent person, but I've made my mistakes and I have my regrets, big ones. What if I don't get into heaven? As if she'll be judged ultimately on her resume and not on, say, the love that's in her heart or what she learned along the way, if she's even to be judged at all. My grandmother, Barbara, my dad's mom, was one tough cookie. So tough, in fact, that her standard reply to the greeting, "How are you?" was, "I'm just as mean as usual." I don't believe in failure, she would say. There's no such thing, because you can always learn something. It's a pretty commonly held perception, particularly among those given to positive thinking as a way of navigating through life, and certainly within the mythos of American notions of success. But what I found lacking in my grandmother's declaration was compassion. If I were brokenhearted that I didn't get the thing I wanted more than anything else, devastated really after working so hard to get it, I really didn't want to hear, "Well, I'm not going to feel sorry for you because you're going to learn something through this." That wasn't helpful at all in the moment, even if it proved to be true in time. Compassion, after all, only means to be with suffering, to be with it. Not to fix it or correct it or advise it or compare it, just to be with it. It's not a small or easy thing. I would venture to say that authentic compassion for ourselves and for each other might be the one true great healer. And yet it is not an attribute I've ever seen on any report card or any measuring stick for success. At the same time, I resonate deeply with the writings of Holocaust survivor Viktor Frankl. In the end, everything can be taken from a man but this one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances. So there it is. Maybe it is ultimately up to us to write the final grade, to cast that final verdict, to call it a success or failure. But I find myself struggling with this all too human urge to look at life through this dualistic lens of success and failure, to cast any verdict at all. What if it's not so simple, so clear-cut as that? In the early 90s, I had a design business, and there was a big economic downturn that hit Los Angeles at the time. My business fell off to zero. I needed to do something quick. As a stopgap survival strategy, I took something called the CBEST test. I got an emergency teaching credential. I was hired as a substitute school teacher for Inglewood Unified School District. This was a few weeks after the Rodney King uprisings in Los Angeles. It seemed like a good idea at the time, but soon enough I discovered I did not have the constitution to face those schools every day. So on my off days, I volunteered at Project Angel Food, delivering home-cooked meals to homebound people with AIDS. These were the peak years of the AIDS crisis. I also got involved with a fledgling volunteer AIDS hospice group called Project Nightlight. But at the time, I felt like an abject failure, the loser of the world. No one could convince me otherwise. I assiduously avoided friends who might call me, dare to ask the unthinkable question, so what are you doing these days? What's going on? What's more, I felt like a spiritual failure, that somehow God had dispensed all the components necessary to live a successful life to everyone else except me. Firmly attached to that idea. And yet when I look back on that point in time now, I see it as the pivot point that made this part of my life possible. It opened the door and the pathway that led to this career of chaplaincy that I love so much, that gives my life so much meaning and makes the whole journey make sense. So am I to look back on that point in time now and call it a success? Even a blessing? Hurting so badly that I wanted to die? The older I get, I find the less patience I have for this either-or kind of thinking. In the world of cancer, the stakes are much higher when it comes to our perception of success and failure. If this disease means the imminent end of my physical body, does that mean that Western medicine failed, my doctor failed, this drug trial failed, my vegan diet failed, my acupuncturist failed, my prayers failed, my positive affirmations failed, God failed me, I failed God? These profound experiences of failure are not just the province of patience. Over the years, I've walked beside dozens and dozens of folks left behind, the bereaved, and they too wrestle almost universally with profound experiences of failure. If I hadn't spent so much time at work, I could have taken better care of him. If it weren't for my depression and anxiety, I know I caused her so much distress. That's why the cancer came back. It's my fault. If I had just insisted that we go to the doctor sooner, why didn't we get a second opinion, a third opinion? From what I observe, this need to cast a verdict never leaves room for a verdict of not guilty. Deanna is living with an aggressive colon cancer. She's also deeply rooted in a faith system, a philosophy that would suggest that she can create life exactly how she imagines it, through positive attitude and affirmation and prayer. Up until now, that system has worked rather well for her. She's found herself a wonderful mate. She continues to enjoy great success in her business. She's a planner and a goal setter. She likes goals with nice, measurable outcomes. So each win only solidifies her faith that much more. How could it be otherwise? But now the tables have turned and her disease is progressing. That whole paradigm of goal setting becomes far trickier, even murky. If cure is medically off the table, what's the most she can hope for? Simply more time living with cancer. What's more, she feels like a spiritual failure. I guess my prayers weren't good enough. My faith wasn't strong enough. My affirmations weren't powerful enough. It's my fault. Over 20 years ago, I was covering an overnight on-call shift at UCLA Medical Center. It was a Sunday night, and I was paged to come up to the ICU because an elderly woman, the matriarch of a large African-American family, was very near death. Family wanted some support and a prayer. I offered them that, and I left. A couple hours later, I was paged to come back up to the unit because a woman had passed, and the family now just wanted company while they waited for their pastor to arrive. Once he arrived, he took one look at the scene, and he said, "It looks like you all didn't pray hard enough." As if this loving family had failed their mother, as if death itself were a failure. And if that's true, all of us are guaranteed an F on our final report card. Spiritual success, spiritual failure, these are tricky concepts, again with the either-or kind of thinking. Over the years, I've walked beside countless folks, many who would say they have a very deep faith and many who would say they have no faith at all, but all with a common longing for something called strength. I wish my faith were stronger. I wish I believed more. And when we tease apart, what do you mean by that strong faith? It usually means certainty. I want to know that I'm going to beat this cancer. I want to know that this drug trial is going to work. I want to know I have the best oncologist. I'm in the best hospital. I want to know that the Lord's got my back. Paul Tillich, a German-American theologian, says the opposite of faith isn't doubt, it's certainty. If I'm certain, I'm not really walking in faith anymore, am I? Faith to me might better be described as a willingness to step off into the unknown with my doubts and fears in tow and continuing to walk anyway, with my eyes and heart open, with curiosity, with patience, with compassion, even for my experience of failure. With Deanna, who liked to set goals with nice, tidy, measurable outcomes, we looked at what another kind of goal might be. What about a goal of coming to peace with uncertainty? A goal of coming to peace with her own powerlessness, offering herself the grace to be a human being. Over these recent years of the pandemic and all of these extreme measures we have had to endure, there have been those among us, myself included, who have sought to redefine our notions of spiritual success and failure, a new paradigm, because the times seem to have demanded it. And there are those eternally optimistic spiritual folks who have likened this to a golden opportunity, a chance to hit the reset button for life on planet Earth, to refine and distill all of the extraneous down to what's absolutely essential. And they've embraced all of this. Not me. I have grieved. I never realized just how much of an extrovert I am, that for me, real human contact, connection, presence is like oxygen. That kind of connected and connectedness becomes the stuff of life, maybe comes close to the meaning of life itself. So much so that for me, sitting in a darkened, sold-out theater, knee to knee with strangers, anticipating being moved to tears or laughter by the same humanity on display on a stage, becomes a religious rite, a sacred experience. Just as it is to gather with my dancing chums on Saturday afternoon in dance class in the same studio in front of the same mirror, dancing to the same music, and afterward getting to partake in Holy Communion, complaining about everything that hurts. Just as it is to travel to a faraway country and get lost in an alleyway among a bunch of locals, many of whom may never have even heard of Los Angeles. Just as it is to hug someone in trouble, a loved one, a friend, family member, patient, a stranger. So much so, think back, we've lived through a lot, that when these experiences were off the table for the foreseeable future, maybe even for the rest of my life, I'm embarrassed to say a part of me wondered whether life was worth living. A spiritual failure, and I would give myself an F, not like those spiritually optimistic folks at all. By contrast, Bernadette is 31 years old. She has the most remarkable sense of humor, of acceptance, of curiosity. She seems to live life in the place of, gee, I wonder what that would be like. So much so that when she began her chemotherapy and her beautiful red hair began to fall out by the handful, we had that conversation I often have, generally with women when they meet this crucible. Some will meet it with a kind of self-empowering gesture, preemptively shaving their heads. Some will make a lighthearted ritual out of it, invite friends over, dye their hair green, and have their friends help them shave their head. No, Bernadette said, I think it'd be really interesting just to see what it'd be like to have your hair fall out. That's it. After her treatment was complete and that year had come to a close, she was reflecting on the year that had passed and said, you know, Michael, I guess I'd have to say, all in all, it wasn't such a bad year after all. Bernadette, in a year that includes a cancer diagnosis, chemotherapy, radical double mastectomy, radiation, reconstruction surgery, if that doesn't make for a bad year, what on earth would? I don't know, she said, losing my sense of humor, I guess. A spirit like that cannot be broken. I walked beside Grace over the last 6 years of her life, ovarian cancer. Grace had lived a life of dizzying twists and turns, both personally and professionally, zigzagging her way across the country. I asked her once if she had a young person in her life, maybe a grandchild, who said, "Grace, what wisdom do you have for somebody like me after having lived such an interesting life? What would you say?" She didn't take any time at all to respond. "When the time comes, be ready to go," she said. She actually echoes Joseph Campbell as he describes the hero's journey. In order to be prepared, one must prepare for when the time comes. That might be the point of all spirituality, he said. Donna and Lois had shared the last 40-some years of their lives together, so at ease and loving and present with each other, creating family in a culture that is utterly hostile to two women calling themselves a family. For the previous 7 years, Lois had been living with ovarian cancer, and as her disease progressed, she chose to take advantage of aid in dying medication for when the going got to be too rough. She was a no-nonsense, vibrant, engaging gal who was way more interested in hearing what you had to say than telling her story one more time. Sometimes it was hard to know just how much suffering she was carrying because she did it with such grace. Though thoroughly contemporary, knew her way around a computer, she was also deeply rooted in old-school virtues like letter writing and sending thank you notes. One Saturday night, she leaned over to Donna and said, "Honey, I think the time's come, and I'm going to take the medication tomorrow." "Well, Lois, if it hurts that bad, why not take it tonight?" "I can't. I got too many things to do." "What do you have to do?" Donna asked. "Well, I've got some bills to pay and some birthday cards to send and some thank you notes to write." "I'll help you do that," Donna said. So on the very last night of her life, after 80+ years on Earth, she spends it intentionally around the dining table with her beloved Donna, engaged in the most mundane activities. Activities that are nevertheless rooted in kindness and consideration. That is an image of spiritual success in my book. The next morning, she got up and put on her best red silk pajamas and said, "I guess I might as well go out in style." If there is such a thing as a spiritual report card, I'd give them both an A+. As I would Bernadette for her unbelievable sense of humor and curiosity and acceptance, as I would to Grace for her exceeding ability to just ride the wave of life. Spiritual success, spiritual strength, you bet, and not a shred of certainty in sight. If there is such a thing as a spiritual report card, I imagine it's rooted in our capacity for compassion and acceptance of this moment, of each other, of myself, of this moment as it is and as it is not, coming to peace with my own powerlessness, and perhaps then, paradoxically, even finding a deeper kind of power in that. I'm a big documentary film fan. I remember a wonderful Oscar-nominated documentary in 1995 called Troublesome Creek. It's a story of a family farm in Iowa. Had been in the family for generations, over 125 years. Russell and Mary continue to work the farm. Though they're much older now, their kids have all been raised and have all moved on. But they're facing foreclosure because of a farming crisis. So it's all hands on deck. All the kids come back to Iowa to do what they can to save the family farm. We're given to believe it will kill mom and dad if they lose the farm and have to move into town. So you're kind of dying a little bit as you're watching them auction off the livestock and the farm equipment and their furniture. You see Mary caressing her Ethan Allen dining table. "Oh, the Thanksgiving dinners I served at this table. Sold." They can't lose the farm, but they do. And to everyone's amazement, they thrive. Russell's a new man, unencumbered by all of that backbreaking labor and nonstop worry. One of these guys that has those wild, untamed, bushy eyebrows, you wonder, hey, what's up with the eyebrows, Russell? There he is in the barbershop getting them all trimmed up, looking his best. I'll never forget the last line of the film. It's narrated by their daughter, Jean. "Success and failure. Sometimes it's hard to tell which is which." Yes, it is. So be it.
Wow, thank you. Always perfect for me anyway. I'm sure you guys all feel the same way. And so we have, I didn't get you any water. Okay, we have a closing song, and then we'll extinguish our chalice. So let's rise for There Is More Love Somewhere, number 95. I always get you water. It's, here it is. Here's the tricky one. We will extinguish our flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we're together again. And our words of benediction from Michael.
I invite us maybe to close our eyes, hang on to a chair while you do, when we can just breathe a little bit. Imagining perhaps that we're all in a great circle, feeling the energy that passes between us and connects us in a family of things. In that place, might we remember to hang on to one another, to that connection, and loosen our grip just a bit on our need for things to be one thing or the other, our desire to cast a verdict, to call it a success or a failure, to write a final report card. In this place, may we be allowed to be who we are, as we are, where we are, with grace and with compassion. So be it.